Thanks so much for joining me here at Health today. Super excited to have both of you here. I know for our audience, we'd really love to first dive into how this relationship came to be and kind of give us the some of us have read it, but the origin story. We'll kick it off to you, and then Andy, we'll go back to you for how things kind of tied in.
Yeah, so I've spent my whole career as a tech entrepreneur. I've had 3 software companies, mainly focused in education and healthcare. And so that's how I've kind of spent my career building enterprise software companies. I met Andy through our summer getaway spot in the western mountains of North Carolina through kind of golf. So we just became friends, spent a lot of time together. And we've done a lot of investing together. We've, done a couple companies together. And so ViewFi kind of sparked out of early pandemic in a conversation that Andy led with a couple of our other co-founders.
Yeah, and he left out the part where all of a sudden we were trying to sell a house and we got a bid that wasn't quite as good as the other one. And that was our first thing where our house had been on the market longer than we would have liked. And he made an offer and I said, we have another one. He's like, you've been on the market for X amount of time. You're telling me you have another offer the same week? And I think that's when he found out I wasn't a liar.
So he called my bluff and I lost.
Yeah, that's right. No, you called what you thought was a bluff and it wasn't. No, and so our origin story, that's kind of Michael and I's friendship story. And then we quickly became, or he became the person that if I was looking at any sort of angel deal, I would get his thoughts on it because the way he comes at problems is so different than the way that I would have approached things. And our backgrounds are so different. But yet we found common ground in a lot of our thought patterns. So he was always someone that I just used as someone I could throw ideas off of, and a couple of other businesses that we're involved with. We had a lot of those kind of conversations about process and how you wanted to go about things. So, if we fast forward from that moment of friendship to early pandemic, I'd kind of made a habit of early pandemic, like a lot of us did, we would make, Zoom meetings, but it would be Thursday nights where you'd invite, a random gathering of 10 or 12 friends, all from different areas of expertise or work. And that night it was kind of the theme kind of became, what are we experiencing? What are the hardships? And if we peek around the corner, what's going to get expedited by the current situation we're in? And it just so happens that 2 of my good friends, Josh Dines, who's one of the top surgeons at HSS, and Chris Dodson, who's one of the top surgeons at Rothman, they were roommates. I met Chris through Josh, who I've known. Josh's family was, his father was our Davis Cup doctor, then he was our Davis Cup doctor, and he was the person I went to for a trusted opinion on my shoulder. He was who told me what path of care to go on, told me when not to have surgery, which was something that I didn't get very often. I felt like there were a lot of opportunistic surgeons out there that like maybe looking for a vanity surgery. Anyways, so Josh is talking to us about trying to diagnose musculoskeletal injuries on FaceTime, and how hard that is, and having people only having a set amount of time. There's no prep work done. They get on, they kind of ramble through what's bothering them. He needs to see range of motion at some point. Shoulders are flying out of the screen. He can't really do it, but obviously these people are in pain and expect a responsible answer. And kind of him telling the long-winded version story of that while we're a couple of glasses of wine deep. I didn't know which funny parts were actually true, which he was exaggerating, which, tragically funny parts were real, and if he actually thought there was a solution. So I called him the next day, kind of half expecting him to say, can we really actually diagnose musculoskeletal injuries if you were given the right tools and the right software and the right platform? And he says, listen, if I can get something to measure range of motion close to perfectly, and I know I get a heads up ahead of time what the symptoms are, I can diagnose 85 or 90% of musculoskeletal injuries. And I said, well, that's astonishing to me. Even in my entire career, I always thought that someone had to put their hands on you, and here it is, one of the best surgeons on earth telling me that might not be the case. I then went to Michael and said, listen, I don't know anything about the software side. Is this something that could even be built? Like, obviously, I don't know. So I have someone who's a leader in one space telling me this, and someone who's a leader in the complementing space of software telling me, let me think about it. I think, and then, a couple weeks later after you thought about it, you said, I think we can actually do this. And then creating this space for the magic to happen between the medical side and the software side, and then just kind of watching it blossom to the point where we could raise money, and then, eventually hire people that are a lot smarter than me to actually get to the responsible parts of this business.
And we'll kick it back over. Thanks, Andy.
Yeah.
We'll kick it back over to you, Mike. For
Yep.
I talked with Glenn earlier about this, the ViewFi transparent partnership. Would love to hear it from both of your point of views. We'll start with you, and then we'll kick it back to Andy.
Yeah, it's been a great partnership to have. As Andy mentioned, we've built this great technology platform that 3D maps the body, that enables all of this great exam work. And then we've got, the best doctors in the world writing, here's the 15 tests you need to do for shoulder pain and back pain, et cetera. So we had this great capability, and what we found over tons of conversations is that, or what we've learned is that, first of all, musculoskeletal care is very fragmented. If you have back pain or knee pain, the question is like, where do you go get help? Other specialties, like say, if you're worried about skin cancer spot, you go to a dermatologist. If you have back pain, you can go to a surgeon, orthopedic surgeon, you can go to a physical therapist, you can go to urgent care, a chiropractor, athletic trainer. It's just very fragmented, primary care. And so, when patients have pain, they want to go to a doctor that they consider to be good at what they do, the best. And they just want a clear answer of, here's what's wrong, and here's what you need to do next, or here's your treatment plan. And we had this great platform to enable that to be done in a much more efficient and quick way. The average time it takes, 3 to 4 weeks to get an appointment with an orthopedic specialist. We can do that within 24 hours.
A diagnosis within 24 hours.
Right.
Wow.
And so it just gives a patient a much more efficient and quick way to get that answer and on to the next plan of care. And what we found in Transparent was that they had very similar values and vision that we had. They want to provide, regardless of where you live, who you work for, who you should have the best access to healthcare. And so we had, like, from a value standpoint, very similar stories. And then, they have, they're putting together a broad range of services from musculoskeletal to oncology to primary care, mental health, to their members. And, we just found just a great synergistic way to fit into that puzzle.
And so I can tell too, I love this dynamic you two have too. Like I can tell you just look at each other, you're going back and forth. And one of the other things we'll kick back to you, Andy, was you were so, passionate about tennis and obsessed with, you had such a great career. What is it about this space now that gives you, I'm not saying it's even the same level, but like that passion and that excitement to work towards this?
Well, I mean, I think any progress starts as from a curiosity for improvement or to get better. In tennis, that was an ongoing process from when I was 6 years old to when I was 30, and trying to problem solve and trying new things. And, it's become a little bit different because, being an expert in one space, and the only space I think I'll ever be an expert in is probably tennis. But then this whole life of curiosity and what you don't know. You kind of live in a job silo for a long time where you see the same people, you go play in the same places, and it's this fantastic life lived. But then you stop for that and you realize you actually don't know anything, And so when opportunities like this come along, I just am very curious, and I've been lucky enough through tennis and its afterlife to create a network of people where I feel like I'm a phone call away of getting smarter about something that might be completely outside of my comfort zone. And luckily, when some of your best friends also become those phone calls, things become very exciting. So on one hand, I have one of my lifelong friends with Josh Dines versus someone who's a newer friend, and we've created such a friendship and a business synergy, and we've shared each other's families and taken trips together. And then when you kind of see that synergy where all of a sudden knows, wait, we can plug and play and actually make something amazing, not for us, but we can we have the opportunity to make musculoskeletal care equitable, which is a really hard thing because you normally have to be in a certain place, you have to know a certain doctor, you have to know how to get into that doctor. And so to kind of see worlds colliding and coming together, I don't think it takes as much dedicated passion as tennis did, where it's like, I have to get up, I have to go through the paces, I have to grind, I'm gonna have physical pain for the next 6 weeks of this training block, versus getting out of bed and being like, I'm actually really excited because this is going to affect a lot more people past me, which is completely different than my previous life.
Super interesting. And what excites, we'll go back to you and then Andy again. What excites you both about what's next for ViewFi?
Yeah, I mean, as Andy pointed out there, it's like the opportunity, you know, as an entrepreneur, which I've always been, or, you know, any kind of innovation, you see a problem in the world. And, you know, Andy described, you know, he's very good at that, seeing problems. And then how are you going to solve that? Who can we get together to try to solve that? We feel like we've really done that with ViewFi. And I think the real opportunity is that, you know, we've got this capability. Best doctors in the world have written these great clinical pathways. We've built a technology platform, and now that's really scalable. So, you know, can we go scale that to 1 million people, regardless of where they live, and who they know, to get this access to healthcare? And I think the other opportunity is a lot of issues happen in healthcare when you have variability. And so what this technology and innovation does is that it provides a way to reduce variability. You know, we're going to run the same shoulder test that Andy would have gotten as playing #1 tennis player in the world. We can scale that now to the masses and reduce variability, which creates better outcomes, takes a lot of cost out, and just, you know, better results.
And from your point of view?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we just more. You want to try to get the word out. We're kind of venturing into a new space. Virtual care has existed for physical therapy, but as far as a diagnostic tool for musculoskeletal injuries, it's a new frontier. You know, it feels like it's all out there for us. And you know, I was shocked the first time I heard Josh Dines tell me the information of like, I will stand by this. I go, will you say it out loud and will you say it publicly? He goes, absolutely. And my confidence swelled. I'm like, wait, we might actually be onto something. So to help other people have that moment where it's like, wait a minute, I can have Josh Dines, who he looked after my shoulder, which was my biggest stress point. Like, I have to keep this thing together. This is what will create a livelihood for me. And now be able to, you know, expand to where you can actually, if your shoulder is bothering you, you're going to go through the same test mechanisms created by Josh, curated by Josh on our platform that I got during my career. And you're not going to have to, you know, I had too many panic flights from, you know, France to check something out and make sure the shoulder was okay, where he would kind of give it a pat and say, okay, off you go, you're going to be fine. You know, I'm jealous of the technology that we've created, and I wish I would have had it 20 years ago.
Last thing, you mentioned it a little while ago, First Health. What'd you think?
This is crazy. Like I don't know. It's weird for me walking into these new spaces, but I'm constantly curious, and the scale and the scope and all the cool things that everyone's doing, and the problem solving and the synergies, and hearing about what someone else does and seeing it fits what you do. It's just been a great experience. And you know, my goal with every day is to leave it a little bit smarter. And there's certainly some space for that today.
Well, thank you both so much for joining me here today, and wishing you both the best of luck. And we'll be watching ViewFi.
Cheers.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
You.